This is a series about the most talented filmmakers on the internet making their first films for the big screen in just 100 days. In episode 1, we focused on the pre-production process. Today, we're diving into everything that happened on set during production.
We're going to jump into production now. We have some photos and some videos from both of your guys' sets that we'll dive into and see a little bit what that was like. But before we do that, can you just give us the title of your film and like a quick elevator pitch, like what it is?
Return to Sender is it's set in this post-apocalyptic Earth, and it's about these two couriers getting sent down to the abandoned surface of Earth to retrieve a package and return it to the spaceship that they live on. And they end up getting trapped on the surface, and the whole film kind of revolves around how their relationship evolves. I was just so lucky to be working with like such professional, patient people.
Yeah, 100%.
The first day I was, it did not click for me. I was freaking out. I felt like I wasn't feeling it. Don't tell like my crew or my cast this, but I was just ready to like go to the bathroom and then never come back.
Oh my god!
Like just leave the country.
Jeez.
It wasn't clicking for me, and I felt bad because everyone like was so. We were working these 12-hour days, like low pay. We're on this indie budget, and these people were just working their ass off. Like I've never seen such a hard, passionate group of people, and like for some reason I just felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, and I'm so happy I stuck it out because the second day felt so good, and the third day was just the best experience I've ever had in my life.
Could you guys just give me like a one sentence on your film, what it's about?
We'll describe it as, at night, two people are married. By day, they're strangers.
That's all we get?
That's all you get.
Oh, come on.
We did have a gaffer who was not too pleased with us on the first 3 days because of all the wide shots we wanted. We loved the wides, and gaffers, I don't think they like wide shots because it's very hard to light. So because we're all very shy, not confrontational people, we said goodbye to the gaffer.
So a group of college kids are playing Dungeons & Dragons in a basement, and one of the dude's girlfriends gets pissed because she wants to go to a frat party. She basically steals this ending game piece, and then the group of D&D kids go on an adventure through their college town to get the piece back from the frat.
Take us back to being on set for the first time directing actors. What was going on here?
I was super nervous going into it initially because I've obviously never worked with actors again, and I don't like telling people what to do. And so I was very anxious about like coming across mean, like if we're telling the actors how to act. We would meet up with the actors all the time, like just to make sure. Basically, we wanted everyone to be friends. So going into it, it would feel like they were actually friends.
One of the best decisions that we made was bringing on a crew that knew Aidan really, really well.
Okay.
Braden and Rachel were the initial two people that we reached out to. Braden, our director of photography, and Rachel, our first assistant director, have known Aidan for a very long time. And so it was so easy for us to flip worlds between one of us is communicating exclusively with the actors here, one of us is speaking exclusively with Braden or with Rachel or with Ross, our incredible production designer, and I think it just made things so much easier in that way.
I made a 20-minute long psychological mystery film, and it's about a girl on her birthday receiving a gift from the universe, and it just gives her an opportunity to see life in a new light and show her things that you would not normally see or experience in your actual lifetime. This is the kind of main prop of my film. It's like this 100-sided dice. And yeah, my character has to interact with this thing.
This is you're manipulating the die.
This was the last shot of the day, and I was like, just leave the camera running and everybody leave, because this is going to take a long time. I thought it would be way easier to make it land on 100 by like just flicking it into the frame in a really close-up frame, so I just flicked it a million times until it landed on 100.
I'm sorry, hang on. I just want to make sure I have this. You rolled like to get 100.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, there's like no manipulation when it lands on it. It actually did.
How long did it take?
Probably about an hour.
An hour?
Of just rolling back and forth.
Oh my God.
And then I just did like quick shots of me rolling it so that it looked like it was moving quickly. I'm so glad everybody went home. They stayed for the first like 15 minutes, and then I was like, that's enough. I just was like, okay, just leave it all like on. And just teach me how to turn it off, and then I'll be good.
Yeah.
I have the Sony FX3, by the way. I just don't know how to use it yet.
That's something that you definitely just like watch and you wouldn't even like think about it.
Yeah.
But like now that you explained it, it like makes so much sense.
The title of the film is They Were Art Thieves. It's set in the 1980s about two brothers who are kind of soul versus survival.
We're gonna be rich!
How many takes you'll do of that?
Oh, that was like 4 takes, and then we had to like walk uphill really quick, and then sprint down again. It was definitely getting exhausting, and you're running in like dress shoes that don't really fit you. That shot though, that was something that I envisioned for like 4 or 5 years of my life.
Wow.
There's a road that drives or goes down. So every time I would drive down that road for like years, I would be like, oh my gosh, one day I'm gonna have somebody like with the camera sit in the back, and we're gonna get a running chase shot here. And then we were finally able to do that, and it was a bit annoying because it's a busy road.
It's a wide shot of the main part of Cornell.
Yep.
The shot ends late on the slope. It's called the slope. I don't know if people are familiar, but there's like just 400 students, and there's cars passing. We kept turning around, or the car, they kept turning it around at like a frat house across the road, and the dudes were getting upset, and we were like, it was.
We had our best friend like stop traffic for like 20 seconds.
He pretended like his car broke
he was
down.
like, no, you're like turning or something like that.
He's like, he's like, I don't know what's happening.
Wait, that's crazy. I had no idea.
So there's a lot of those type of little things which I don't want to get into too much because we're not too proud of stopping traffic.
Anything.
I mean, it was 20 seconds.
Man.
Okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was once we got that. Like we were so excited. We were just yelling. Tom was just like ecstatic. We were all just like
one of the last days too. So
there's some
like,
random people that pulled up that recognized who we were, and we're like, "Come over, check the shot." And then they walk over, and they're like, "Yo!" That was a really fun like hero type shot.
That's awesome.
We
Man.
waited for years.
My film is called How Long Until Now. It's a non-linear story about a girl who struggles to stay present and how she constantly jumps between reality and what's happening in her mind.
Was there someone on set that you did feel like you had a really meaningful connection with that made the project because they had a skill set that you don't have, and the communication was on point?
I'm so used to just shooting outside and just using whatever environment I have and kind of adapting to that. I think the exterior shots were really easy to me because I'm so used to it. Okay. I see the shot really fast. But then we had the whole day shooting interior shots in their apartment. But it was not an apartment, it was like a bed and breakfast type of place, and we had to turn it into an apartment. And I've never worked with a set designer, so I think that was the most challenging part for me, and that was on the third day because we had to turn like hotel rooms into a bedroom. There was no kitchen, so we had to build something that looked some type of kitchen, and that was very stressful but also like really interesting challenge for me.
So my film's called Julian Pretzel. It kicks off when this police officer finds these 2 homeless brothers selling out of an illegal food stand, and he recruits them to his wife's failing restaurant. We had to build the inside of the restaurant. There's a room inside of there that we built the bedroom.
Oh.
And thankfully my art director, she just did the whole thing. Because I felt the same way. As building a set, because we also the homeless camp. We built the homeless camp, and that was all Kate. And that's the best when I can sleep well, because I know that Kate's gonna figure this out.
I'm a control freak. I can't just let that go.
I don't think you are. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm more of a control freak than you. But when it comes to the art direction, those elements, especially when I haven't really done my homework, I'm just looking for practicality. Why is he wearing those gloves? Why is he wearing a beanie? I'm thinking about it more from a writerly sort of standpoint. But when it comes to those things, I got no clue. I gotta give it to them because I can't figure it out.
We made a really weird, surreal film. This man creates a machine to try and build this perfect existence through escapism. But soon enough, he realizes that through the creation of this machine, it fails because you can't have a perfect existence without others.
Was it a good atmosphere on set for you guys?
To be completely honest, there was a lot of egos on set. Yeah, people knew more than us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been in the game longer than us. But at the same time, it's our vision. This is our set. We're the directors. It is weird being told what to do from these 2 random internet kids. So I feel like there was a little bit of tension here and there, whereas some minds were colliding, whereas no, we can't do this because I've been in the game, I've seen this before, this has happened, whereas we're no, well, that doesn't make sense in our heads because we do it this way. Well, why can't we do it this way? And then they're oh, okay, because this and that. It just turns to us educating each other on the ways we do things.
All the people that our DP brought on to our set had been on sets a multitude of time, and there's a lot of lessons that we learned from that, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah.
100%.
It's we had some mentors on set, our producer. Yeah. He's older than us, and he was telling us the in and outs. After each day, he was coming up to us. He's you messed this up. Do better tomorrow.
Holy, really?
Just being brutally honest.
Just being brutally honest. it was nice having just like true honesty on set of like people telling us what we did wrong. We're able to tell them what they did wrong. Hey, tomorrow let's
and
work
what
on
we
this.
did good as
Sure.
well.
It just made it all a very good learning experience for us.
That is certainly the most you had ever worked with, right?
Yes.
How was that for you?
When you start putting everyone around you who's better at their job, right? You find people who are supposedly way better than you. I've, put my trust in these people, and it was one of the best things ever, because when the camera department knows what they're doing, and then sound knows what they're doing, and they're all collaborating, and I can just fully immerse myself in acting, and I don't need to figure out what things we need to set up and do. That just felt so freeing. And that's those moments when I was like, wow, working with a crew feels like a family, and the atmosphere too. Oh yeah, the atmosphere is incredible.
Oh my goodness.
It is so important, because you can have someone who's really good at their job, but if they're bringing in some kind of negative energy, or they're being, assholes to people, that automatically will put everyone in this weird kind of like headspace where then it performs, the performers get affected, like everyone gets affected, but everyone here just felt like it was just like a family.
I'm curious to hear about your gear and what you guys used to shoot this thing.
I know our gear, what we were shooting on, was the FX3, which is a camera that I've used before. It's built out. There's a lot of attachments on that thing. It looked way bigger than I've ever used it for YouTube. Shout out to my DP, Braden. Like, he kind of figured out a lot of the lenses and stuff to use, and I just, like, drew stuff, and then he was like, okay, this is the lens we should probably use for that.
What? You win?
I ran out of ideas.
Seriously, that's it?
I like it. It's good.
I mean, it just seems kind of shallow. I mean, you couldn't have done something like the power of friendship journey, not the destination.
That was actually crazy, because we actually switched completely what we were going to do. That ending shot ended up being a combination of 3 shots. We were freaked, like running out of time. And this was a common issue always on set. We're like, we're 2 hours behind. And so it's like, okay, how are we going to combine shots? I think we used a macro lens there and threw it on the dolly. And we're like, let's just do this shot one take instead of having like 3 cuts back and forth, just to save time. And it actually ended up, I think, looking better.
Way better.
Than we initially thought, which was actually really cool.
So we have a couple clips from both of your films that we had you select because they were challenging or technically interesting, or there's something there to share. I think let's start with, we'll start with Sonya.
We spend 1/3 of our life asleep. What could be more real than a dream?
This is a shot from a dream scene. When writing the script, I wanted to have her looking at herself through the window and she's in the pool in the water. On the first day of the location scouting, we were looking for pools because we needed to have a specific type of pool with like windows under the pool, because we didn't want to put camera inside the water because that would be too expensive and takes too long. So we were looking for specific places. And the first place that we went to was a diving center where divers learn how to like rescue divers, and there was a really cool underwater corridor, like a hallway, and those windows were going inside the pool, and I just really loved the shape and everything about those windows. And the idea was to shoot it here, but we decided to go with a different pool for the pool scene. It was a public pool, and they had like windows under the pool. So we shot through the window. So she was in the water just floating. And because the schedule was really tight, we were not able to add another location just for one shot. So our amazing set designer, Katarina, built a window that looked very similar to that, and we just built it in the studio, and we just put it on the wall in the studio because somehow the studio had one concrete wall, and we just added a green screen. So we shot it through the green screen, and then we added the video from the pool there. It just all fell into place perfectly.
I think we can move on to Harold's shot.
You do some volunteer work for her, and you don't have to come with me. Deal?
And the way that I blocked the scene was I was like, okay, I'm going to put him in a lawn chair. Just having a cop at a homeless camp in a lawn chair, it's super diffusing. But then when he stands up, we're reminded of his authority. And so what I wanted to do was just augment those emotions. I think the challenging part of that sequence for me was figuring out the rhythm of the scene. Because I very much believe that if it doesn't happen on set, it's really hard to make it happen in the edit. From a technical standpoint, I think it was like 30 feet of track laid out for this whole scene. I just covered it just on one dolly move pretty much. I felt like I should shoot it in a style that was an homage to classic cinema and really the films that have inspired me most. The fifth character in this film is really the camera. Just being able to zoom into dolly at the same time, just being able to really punch in on a movement and augment a moment and really go with the river. If somebody looks over there, I'm going to pan over there, right? But if somebody looked over there and I whipped over there, I'd be going against the river. You know what I mean? And so I wanted the camera to augment all those emotions, and being able to zoom and dolly in at the same time really gives me that punch.
And what camera did you use?
We used the Ari Alexa.
We also shot on the mini Alexa.
The one other gear thing I know Ryan told me is that you had this like little screen that you were looking at, like a handheld monitor or something.
Yeah.
How did that work in the process?
Oh my god, I fucking love that thing. I sent y'all a ton of behind the scenes photos, and like all of them are just like of me like hunched over that monitor. It was so much fun to be on set and to feel the wind in the grass, and all that, but getting to look through the monitor and getting to see it as like the movie that it's becoming. So it was like this weird immersive live experience. I don't know, it was bizarre. I was so into the monitor.
How was it working with this crew?
It was great, to be honest. I think we had a really good flow.
Which particular roles on set were most impactful?
I would say the gaffer for me. Lighting is so important. I think the DP, I was going to get a robot originally.
A robot?
Like no job. Like an actual robot that like moves. You kind of set the angles up yourself and then you can push play and then it'll record it for you.
Wait, hang on.
Serious?
Does this exist?
No, it's real.
You got to drop the meta on this.
I was going to get it, but it didn't come in time for my set to start.
Robot DP?
Yeah. No, I'm being so serious.
Like a Roomba DP type?
Basically.
That's crazy. It seemed like the whole process on set changed pretty quickly as we moved into it, right? Like we started moving faster, scenes we started getting just, quicker with JT doing movements. Can you just speak to how that happened and how you maybe got more comfortable throughout the production?
I think for this specific location, it would feel more of like a stage if we had multicam setup. So we had two running at one time and JT was kind of just always tracking the subject that needed to be tracked. And then mine just had a wide. It really sped up the process, but also made us able to use certain improvised takes really well that were just really good. We would have to mesh together in the edit if it was two different shots.
Using a multicam was really good for acting because you just had to do it. Once you had it, you had it. Because usually you light and shoot one angle, right? Mm-hmm. And you do the lines like 6 times, and then you flip worlds and do the other angle. Yeah. And the actors are exhausted by the end of it because they've done this scene like 12 times. But in this case, if we did it 12 times, we did it 12 times because there's 2 cameras getting both our takes on that. So in terms of fluidity, 2 cameras was very, very good.
What we have to talk about is that you guys shot on film. What was that like? Why did you make that decision? And how'd it go?
We wanted to shoot on film because we have a good friend. He's a DP and he only shoots on film. That's his thing. You can't just press record. You're so limited to everything you do. For this entire film, for this 15-minute film we made, we only had a little over 50 minutes of
like total
footage,
film,
total footage.
Wow.
We're limited to 1 or 2 takes for everything.
Yeah.
I think 90% of the shots you see in this film, it's 1 take.
Our first take, yeah.
Wow.
There was this one dialogue scene. It's like the main scene at this pool table, this main wide shot. And our actors, they had to run through it was 1 roll of film. So it was like about 3.5 minutes.
Oh my
and
God.
that's how long that scene
That's all you had.
took.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is all the film we have left before we have to replace the cartridge, which takes like 5 minutes. And it's like, let's just rip it all in 1 take. So we rehearsed it like 10 times.
Yeah.
And then they killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no mistakes, just the 3.5 minute dialogue. It was insane. It was awesome. It was surreal. Because it's a whole different feeling. Like we have 3 digital cameras rolling in our face right now. It's completely silent. You can barely even tell that they're there in front of us. And then this thing is like the loudest mechanism. It's just it's a machine. Like it is. It is. So every time you hear action, it's just
and every take of dialogue you hear the camera whirring.
So that's like it's a whole nother thing as well.
Yeah.
It's like within the dialogue you have to, when we're going to mix, you have to somehow get rid of this insanely loud camera clicking noise in the background.
So this was your first time directing actors, you mentioned. What was that like for you? How did you approach that?
Oh my God. It was so hard. Not because the actors, but I'm a reasonably emotionally intelligent guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's a great start.
Yeah, I thought, and then I stepped on set and we're doing lines, and I'm hearing them read them out, and I just I can feel that I want something different, but I just had so much trouble articulating it. And again, Moore and Luke were just so patient and willing to kind of like throw out the different ideas and takes, and like, oh, like what if we went like a little bit in this direction or this direction, and they really gave me so much to work with and kind of feel it out. Super collaborative process.
Yeah.
I of course wanted to take the lead. I wanted to be like a big director or whatever, but it really just came down to like just kind of surrendering my ego and being like, I'm kind of dropping the ball right now, and we got to make this thing. So let's try everything and let's get the shot and move on. And and I really think it worked out. I think we all had a general understanding of where the story should go, and bouncing between the three of us, we all took it to that place. So so grateful for them.
In going through this process, what did you guys learn about yourself as a director?
The way I like to kind of approach directing is I'm not telling someone what to do. I'm asking questions and we're figuring out together. So that's the way you get to where you want to be. Because you can tell someone anything. You can read a book, but it's like until you actually go through the process, question it for yourself, and go through an experience, you're not really going to get it. And without fully understanding that like answer you get, you won't get that full performance that you want.
Sid, this character, he longs for privacy, and so does Lucy. In the offices, Ethan would enunciate the open spaces. There was nowhere to hide, and he would use wide lenses and go wide. And when we get to the more comfortable place in the movie, the more comfortable location, the dreams house, it's very closed in. But so he kept the wide lenses, but he went in close, so that you actually start to feel closed in, but it's not closed in a bad way. It's actually better. You're cozy now.
Did you know you were doing that consciously? Was that a choice?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Can you guys just give us like a high-level overview of what production was like?
You don't sleep a lot. There's a million moving pieces. You're calling somebody every 5 minutes because this is missing. And then, oh, are we set up here before we go to this spot? Oh, how are we looking on the set in 3 days? The one that we're not even at right now.
Yeah.
Do we have that secured yet?
Yeah.
Also, what are the times we have for that set?
Oh, is the person who's supposed to...
Yeah, is everybody
let us
up?
in?
Is everybody
Yeah,
awake?
Right.
Do we have food for everybody as well?
You guys are kind of hometown heroes coming back to shoot your film,
Yeah.
right? Like the people were really hyped. The whole town knew about it. It was at the paper, right?
It was in the paper. They were posting it on Facebook.
Wow.
Like my mom was posting it on Facebook.
Totally.
Like,
That's like one of the main reasons we went back home to do it. Because it's a small town and people are just stoked. We get all these cool locations like the bar scene. They just want to be involved. They just like want to see what's going on. They just want their business in the credit of the film. They just want to be there. They just want to see stuff happen. So I think it's like a very powerful weapon to give light to these places.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than, you know, like in LA where it's like you go ask a business, hey, can we shoot here? They're like, no, give us $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas like these people at these small businesses in our hometown are just like catering to us.
Do you feel like there is a difference in storytelling or a difference in approach between internet-raised people and the more traditional storytellers?
I would just be in Phil's videos for the last like 5 years. I only got into acting about 2 years ago where I really fell in love. I guess the traditional acting where I was like, I guess I never went to school for it, but just like I was saying, just like I guess reading everything, just trying to absorb all the information. I would just do my acting and I would post like in my portfolio, I would just post it online. And that's kind of how it worked for me. Like I would always feel out of place as being like a content creator because I was just acting in Phil's stuff. So for me, it's just more of like a portfolio that's online and social media is helping me kind of get it out. You know, maybe other people can notice me or something, but I never saw myself as like a content creator. And that's not to be like, oh, I don't want to be that. It's more of like I just kind of just sent acting and I'm like, yo, what happens if I post my monologues that, you know, I do or my own things I write online? And, you know, collab with Phil, obviously.
We had the dolly, and we're like, instead of the gimbal, let's just throw it on tracks.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot, actually, where we just had to pivot and figure out how to shoot it in a way that would work for the film.
Ours is the reverse of that.
Yeah. In terms of improvised dolly shots. Damn.
I fell asleep amid the flowers for a couple of hours on a beautiful day.
Ethan, talk us through how that decision was made, how it turned out.
For reference, like I've never used a dolly, so I didn't really know that was possible. Like it was worth it because I didn't know how long setup was, and we were wanting to work fast. All we had on the day was a gimbal, and it was a very long tracking shot that Baron wanted. I think it was suggested that we use like one of the many office chairs we had in there. One of the grips, Ryan, he like came in and he was very steady with it, and he like pushed me in, and it actually worked out really well.
When I would just go to gatherings,
yeah,
people would start talking about this guy, Ethan Uncurated, and like a week after I ran into him, this one guy runs into me at Epoch, and he's like, "Hey, I love your stuff. Hey, do you know Ethan Uncurated?" I love you, but talk to me about Ethan.